The Prince and the Sorceress, Chapter 1. Story by Rika Middelkoop. The sun sets over a small village. Amongst the many farms ran a small river. At the end, where it disappears into the woods, sits a mill. At the beginning, where it bubbles up from the ground, a small palace. Inside, a young man sits at a desk. Before him, a writing tablet, written and erased several times in charcoal. Next to him, a book on sailing, open on the page of long-term storage of water. A girl creeps in. The young man didn't notice. Instead, he reread the same part over and over. She poked his arm and startled him. "Mom and Dad said it's time for dinner." "Oh, hi. I'll be eating in here tonight." She poked him again. "Mom and Dad said you're eating with us tonight." He rolled his eyes. "I'm busy. I'm trying to figure out. Mom and Dad said they don't care what your excuse is. You're eating with us." He sighed heavily. "Fine. Let me know when dinner's ready." "It's already ready," she says. He looked out the window, seeing that the sun was already setting. "Oh, I didn't realize how late it was." "All right, I'm coming." The girl merrily skipped down the hall, while her big brother slowly walked behind, still thinking to himself, "Barrels could be the way to go, but we need more blacksmithing tools. I still think a reservoir would be better overall, but it will take much more effort to clear the land." They arrived at the dining hall. The king and queen already at their seats, 2 empty places set with cheese and bread on them. The girl took her seat. The boy came in and sat, not acknowledging his parents. "Thank you so much for joining us, Prince Reginald." He paused his muttering for a moment to look up. "I didn't really have a choice." "Reginald," the king snapped. "Sorry, Dad." "Yes, Mom, it's nice to see you." "So, how are your plans on sailing going?" the queen asked as she started eating. "I'm not planning on sailing. I'm looking at how sailors store water long term. I was trying to figure out how he could have better stockpiles of water for the next drought." "The next one?" the girl chirps up. "How do you know there's going to be another one?" "Well, I don't. It's very likely there will be another time when the rain stops, or is at least this sparse. It's important to be prepared." "Anyways," the queen interrupted, "since you're not actually planning on sailing anywhere, that means you can be here working with the court and helping your father and I, and looking for a spouse." "I don't want to get married." The prince slammed his cup down. "Son, don't slam your cup." "I don't need to be married. I'm perfectly fine on my own." "Sweetie, you're the crown prince. You're old enough to be the king. But you don't have a spouse." "I don't need one. The rules of succession are very clear for this kingdom. You cannot ascend to the throne unless you have a spouse." The prince rubbed his temples. "I know great-granddad thought it was important. It is important." The king glared at him. "But I don't want to get married. I don't need to get married. You two are still perfectly capable of ruling, why would I even need to be crowned anytime soon? Son, that's not even the point, the king sighed. Well, then what is the point? The point is, you will be crowned king eventually. Even if it's not this year, even if it's not this decade. You need to start thinking about who you're going to have by your side. Or we accept that some of the structures are old-fashioned and I don't get married. The king and queen were in sync as they glared at their son. No, you have to get married. You have to at least try to get married, the queen pleaded. You spend all your time in the study, reading up about things you'll never use. I'll use it, he said. You insisted on a sailing book for your birthday, and you have no intention of ever even going to the sea, let alone getting on a boat. You know what's happening with the farms because your father and I tell you, because the heralds tell you. You hardly even eat with us, unless we make you. You need to at least put in some effort to get out of the palace and see the people who will one day be your subjects, and whether or not you want to actually marry any of them. The prince sighed defeatedly. Okay, mother, I understand. The reservoir drought preparation will be on hold, at least until I attempt to find a spouse. Does that sound fair? The queen smiled brightly. That sounds wonderful, darling. After dinner, the prince walked slowly back to his room. His little sister skipped after him. Ooh, so when do I get to meet my new sister-in-law? She asked, bubbly. I'd have to have an actual fiancé for you to have a future sister-in-law, he said, rubbing his eyes again. Right. And you barely talk to the women inside the palace, let alone anyone outside. She smirked and he glared. How do you even look for a spouse? He said, walking back into his room. Well, there's the old classic of having a joust. Though there's not really many jousters in this village. You could have a ball and make everyone attend. Ooh, you can have a contest of skill. I vote making flower crowns. The prince closed the book on his desk. Why flower crowns? Because I love making flower crowns, and I would love to make them with my new sister-in-law. Option D is to marry your seamstress like Dad did. The prince rubbed his eyes. The problem with doing a challenge is what do I do if someone completes it? Marry them, I guess? The princess shrugged. Unless you're trying to make it impossible. The prince's eyes widened. Charlotte, you're a genius, the princess curtsied. Why, thank you, Reginald. I couldn't agree more. I shall marry whoever ends this drought. The prince sat back down and started writing on his writing tablet. But it's a drought. It's part of nature. One person can't end it. Exactly, he said smugly. I, Reginald, Crown Prince of Miracle Springs, do decree that my bride shall be chosen by the one who ends this drought. He held up the writing tablet. Worst case scenario, someone ends the drought and I have to get married. Best case scenario, no one can ever take credit for ending the drought and I never have to get married.